Welcome to another Renovo FYI tip of the week. This week we're going to be looking at some FRX conversion validation tips, specifically on how to fix CBR calculations in FRX that can get converted into assigned RV columns and how to fix those formulas. Usually you'll find these in reports that use a percentage of revenue type of column. Here we're going to start off with the freshly converted FRX report. Now, the first thing you want to do is preview your report to see if you get any errors. So we're going to click on the preview button first, and this will give you an indication if there's anything that needs to be fixed right off the bat. And here we get this long error message that tells us there's some type of issue. So we know there's some issues here. So what I usually do is actually go find a report that previews successfully first. Because if we find a report that previews successfully, then we can actually take advantage of using some of those components like the rows, columns, and trees that actually work. So this report previews successfully. So I'm pretty confident in at least the rows and the columns are correct. So I'm going to use the column from that successfully previewed report, and I'm going to drop it into the report that doesn't work. You usually want to write down before you overwrite stuff, and we'll preview it with a column format that we know works. So here we preview it, and we can notice that that does actually preview successfully. So we can narrow down the issue to this report as a problem with the columns, because we previewed it before with the original column definition. We got an error. We put in a column definition that we know works, and it previewed perfectly fine. So we know that the problem is in the columns, and here I can actually see in this formula it says fix this. So when you convert reports from FRX, there's this particular scenario where the CBR calculations don't convert perfectly, and you get this fix this option or message. So we're actually going to come in here and manually correct this formula. Now the details of what it's supposed to look like are going to be found in the documentation in either the developer guide or in the convert FRX in the FRX conversion considerations document. So here I'm just going to type it over, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually copy and paste this, or a version of it, so that I can use it in other columns, so I don't have to retype it every time. So we're just going to highlight that, and we're just going to control copy to copy the formula, because I have other columns that have to be fixed too, like column E. So come into column E, highlight that, control V to paste in the formula, make a little edit, and just repeat that for each of the columns that needs to be corrected. So this is a very common FRX conversion fix that has to be done. Anytime you have reports that use a percentage of revenue type of column, you'll typically need to come in here and make these changes. But just as a best practice, when you're validating your reports, preview them first and then try to narrow down and identify, is it the row or the column or the organization where I'm getting the issue. And you can do that by swapping in rows or columns that you know work from another report. So we've just made those quick fixes to the columns, and we're just going to preview it again and see if it previews without error. And there it is. So now this report previews without error, and we should be able to run it and continue the validation. Thanks for joining us on this Renovo FYI tip of the week. Please check out our YouTube page, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Renovo FYI tip of the week.